This is how you do it. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm still on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please give me a subscribe and leave a like on the video. So guys, you know I've been making noise a lot about how they write our current stories, especially in our superhero genres, and how the whole race baiting, race swapping, gender swapping, all that stuff is a problem in the movies that we watch today. And I kept mentioning, I mentioned in one of my videos, that everything they've said is a lie. Every time they say this is the first time black people have been represented in movies, that's not true. And I've been doing this thing, which I mentioned in my previous video, where I'm going back to watch old movies that I grew up on, movies that I watched in the 80s and the 90s that I never really thought about race. It wasn't even something that came to my mind. Now I'm going back to check them out, noticing that this whole thing that they're pushing to say that women have not been represented in movies, or black people have never been represented in movies, or you have to see yourself represented for you to connect to a movie or character, is all lies. It's crap. Which brings me to Jack Reacher Part 2. I was watching this movie recently with the lady. I paused the movie at some point and I looked at her and I said, do you notice that I really love the female character in this movie? One of the things that I noticed in this movie is that Jack Reacher is once again come into the town and he's placed in a position where he has a friend, well, seemingly, that is in trouble that he now needs to save. This puts him in a position where we have a damsel in distress situation. But lo and behold, the person he has come to help is a sergeant major just like he is, but she's currently serving and he is already out of the army. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie was their first meeting physically, where he went into the prison to get her out and she held her own. Not only did she hold her own, she still had the feminine compassion, or should I say the maternal instinct, to try to save her men. Whereas Jack Reacher is like, he's going for blood. He's like, I've got a mission, I need to get you out, I'm gonna kick anyone's butt who's in front of me. The lady, still holding her own, she kicked butt, but she was still more like, calm down, soldier, relax yourself. You know, I'm a commanding officer, let's try and reason this out. And throughout the entire movie, she was strong. She held her position. She knew exactly what her rank was, and she held her own against Jack Reacher, but not in a way that was distasteful, not in a way that made you dislike her. The last thing you want to do in a movie is to have somebody in your movie hammer against the main character. So for example, if I go to watch a Captain America movie, to have somebody in the movie completely lambash Captain America or completely disrespect him, is going to make me hate him. Why? Because I like Captain America. I'm here to watch this movie because of Captain America. So whoever it is that goes against him, I'm going to hate. And this is the difference between there's a movie that comes to mind, which I think they did this very wrong. And that's James Bond, the final James Bond. I forgot what it's called. James Bond, No Time to Die. One of the things that I hated about this movie, don't get me wrong, I actually did enjoy the movie overall, but I really disliked the new 007, because not only was this an opportunity for them to introduce a female James Bond, maybe also go for a different spin on it, maybe have like, what would it be like if a female was a James Bond? What would be the dynamic? How would it be different from the male James Bond? They didn't do that. They just made a female James Bond try to act like James Bond, which I thought was a detriment to the movie. But not only that, just like I said before, she became really unlikable because she kept butting heads against James Bond himself. It wasn't until later on that she started being nice that we almost, I think, or most people probably changed at the very end, or most people were like, okay, I don't hate her that much anymore. But if they had continued that road, where every mission they went to, she was trying to prove that she's a better James Bond or she's a better 007, she would have been hated in this whole movie. I really didn't like their dynamic because she spent the whole movie trying to one-up him and diss him and disrespect him. And like I said already, if you have your main character and you've got somebody in the movie disrespecting him, you're going to hate that person automatically. But in Jack Reacher, the lady who, I want to call her Robin, because literally I call her Robin in every single movie that she's in, because my most favorite character that she's ever played is Robin from How I Met Your Mother. So when I see her even in Marvel, I call her Robin. But she did a fantastic job in this movie. When it was time to kick butt, she kicked butt. And when it was time to be maternal and feminine, she did. And never once did she go against Jack Reacher in a disrespectful way. I also love how she brought her point across as well, in terms of when Jack Reacher started acting like a douchebag, and she basically brought out her struggles in regards to what she had to face being in the army, being a woman. That was well done. That was done really, really well. And it made me, a man, go, that's true. He shouldn't treat her like that, because at the end of the day, she was the same rank as him, which means she should be able to do what he does, which means he should have given her that respect. If you want to make a strong female character, go ahead. But make sure they're female. Make sure they're feminine. Make sure they're not trying to act like a man. This is my argument, especially for gender swapping and women trying to play action roles. In the James Bond movie that I just mentioned, in No Time to Die, my favorite character, apart from James Bond himself, was the Bond girl. The one that was ditzy and she was new at the job. She was wearing the sexy dress and all of that. She kicked butt while being feminine. Whereas the strong black female character was there doing a James Bond stuff, which I think that's the contrast. I think there's a balance between the Bond girl, who was sexy and using her sexual guiles to kick butt, and the strong black female character. Somewhere in the middle there, that's where you find a good, strong female action hero in your movies. Somewhere in the middle of those two. Don't make them act like men. It's just not, we're not gonna connect to them. If you haven't watched Jack Reacher 2, I think you should check it out. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think strong female characters are being done right now and I'm just being a sexist person? Or do you think I'm right? Do you think actually all the female characters are acting like men and it needs to stop? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching my video, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.